Hello, I'm Kimberly Dondo, Digital Content Manager, and welcome to In Conversation With, the podcast series that delves into the world of financial services and brings you face to face with some of the most notable figures in the industry. Listen as we discuss topics that are currently facing the industry and hear from visionary CEOs to disruptive innovators as we bring you a diverse array of voices and perspectives. We'll explore the challenges they faced, the lessons they've learned, and the insights they have to share about the ever-evolving landscape of financial services.
Hi, I'm Lois Vallely, Chief Reporter for Money Marketing, and today I am joined by Sarah Lyons from Parmenion and Hayley Rabbets from the Verve Foundation, although I'm tempted to call you Hayley Rabbets, Hayley. I'm sorry, I'm sure everyone does that, but just because, lions and rabbits might be quite fun.
I'm absolutely fine with that. They're cute, aren't they, rabbits?
Thank you so much to you both for joining me. Perhaps we could just start by you introducing yourselves to our listeners, telling us a bit about yourselves and the story of how you got to where you are today. As I introduced you first, Sarah, let's go with you first.
Okay, well, I won't go into too much detail because I'm sure not many people are interested in me talking for a long time about it. But I'm Chief Marketing Officer at Parmenion. I've been with the business just over 5 years, and essentially what I do is work with my colleagues to design the products and services and then communicate them to the market. So that's my job. I run a small team here, and Parmenion is a relatively small business with just over 200 people, all based in Bristol. I've been in financial services since I graduated in 1995, and like many, started as a financial advisor, and I'm tempted to do a few sort of air quotes here because back in the 1990s, being a financial advisor for a bank assurance business wasn't really about financial advice as we know it today. It was much more about sales. And I did that for a number of years and then thought, do you know what? The sales environment didn't really suit me as a person, and I wanted to get in a position where I designed the products and services that advisors at that point were selling or advising on, instead of being on the receiving end of them. So I took that customer facing experience and brought it into a marketing job. I stuck it out for a few years in terms of the sales or advising role with the bank assurer, and then moved into my first marketing job with Clerical Medical, and haven't really looked back. Few companies and positions later, and here I am.
Perfect, thank you very much. And Hayley.
So I head up the Verve Foundation, which is the not-for-profit arm of the Verve Group. I also didn't intend to come into finance at all. So I took a receptionist role at a financial advice firm back in 2007. There's always been a joke with people that I know that I caused the market crash by joining financial services in 2007, but I promised it was not me. And I just worked my way up in different roles within financial advice firms. Never really fancied advising because I saw it as really salesy and it didn't fit me and my personality. So I've probably done most roles, just not advice. And then I landed up at Verve a couple of years ago. I was Ambassador for Education alongside my day job at Verve. And at the beginning of the year, Kathy, our CEO, said, would you like to head up the Verve Foundation on a full-time basis? And I think I screamed and did a little happy dance, and here we are.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. So Sarah, I just had a question for you first. Obviously, the Consumer Duty came into force at the end of July. Very exciting day. What impact would you say it's had on the industry and also the end client so far?
It's very early to say. What are we, 6 weeks in, I suppose, since the 31st of July? So I think it's probably a little bit early, but I guess what I really hope is that it drives a step change. There's been lots and lots of commentary about it being like TCF, it's nothing new, etc., etc. And I'm not sure that's the right lens to look at it, really. I think there is definitely opportunity to deliver better services for our customers. And I'd summarise it as the industry, and I probably don't include advisors in this, but the industry at large needs to shift from a position of being inside out and delivering products and services to their customers to being outside in, and really being driven by what customers need, and developing products and services that meet those needs better. I think at a macro level, if you look at the trust index, I think FSCS published some stuff last year, and financial services sits comfortably between utility companies and communication providers. And I don't know how you two feel when you have to phone your gas supplier or your broadband supplier. And as someone that moved house very recently, I kind of get it, right? Your heart literally sinks, and you have to take a deep breath before phoning them. And you do that because you know it's going to take ages to get through, and you know it's going to be really, really hard to get hold of anybody that can actually help with your query. And it takes energy and it takes time. And for financial services to be in between those two industries on a personal level, it's embarrassing, right? Now I know there's loads of good people trying to do good things in the sector, and I know that Parmenion is probably better than most in terms of that service delivery, and we're acting to improve things all the time. But if people go looping right back to where I started, where if everybody thinks this isn't about me, it's about everybody else, it's no different to TCF, no change here, we're not going to drive that change. Yeah. Everybody can do something better for their customers, including Parmenion. And so I hope it drives that step change. Whether it will or not, we'll see.
We will see. I used to write about utility companies at a previous job, so I know all about utility company service.
Lucky you.
It was a fun job. It actually was in many ways, but yes, definitely didn't have the best reputation, those companies.
And I don't want financial services to have that reputation, you know.
No, definitely not. I was speaking to someone the other day who was saying that they feel that if the FCA had implemented RDR and MiFID II and all those bits of regulation better, it wouldn't have needed to do consumer duty. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that you would like to voice on our public podcast.
What do I think about that? I think it's easy to have 2020 vision with hindsight. I'm sure there could have been things done better with MiFID II and RDR, but actually MiFID II, in my view, introduced quite a lot of complexity into the customer experience in terms of the communications that we need to send out and deliver. And it's gone now, but 10% loss reporting, etc. And really, in my mind, those are at odds with consumer duty. I think there is sometimes unintended consequences to regulation. And I think customer engagement in pages and pages and pages of disclosure and documents that we're asked to send are sometimes at odds with each other because they're too technical. And it's not what customers really care about. What customers care about is the outcome they're getting.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's where advisors can help, really. So I'm not sure on that statement, if I'm honest.
No, that's fine. Neither am I. I was doing, people have mixed feelings about this, but I consolidated my pension into Pension B ages ago. And so I had 4 fairly small pension pots. And so obviously had to interact. Well, I mean, Pension B interacted with the providers on my behalf because they were saying, Lois wants to transfer her pension pot into Pension B. And then from 3 of the providers, I won't name them because I haven't gone to them for right or reply. But for 3 of the providers, in fact, I think I have named them in an article, but anyway, 3 of the providers just sent me like a form that I just had to sign, digitally, and then I just sent it back by email. It took probably maximum a week, and they just transferred my pension pot. The other one, it took literally about 6 months. And I kept, every time I called them, it's like you said, Sarah, my heart sank because I had to call them and I knew it would take like an hour at least. And their response was, well, we have to send you all this paper and get you to send a wet signature back because that's what the FCA says. And I'm like, well, that can't be true because the other 3 providers, which are doing the same thing, haven't had to do that. So yeah, it was terrible. I won't name them because it was a long time ago now. But
hiding behind process and hiding behind regulation is part of our collective problem, in my mind.
Yeah, definitely.
It's really easy to just say, oh, it's all the FCA's fault, isn't it? Because advisors and providers don't then have to go, okay, what are we doing? What can we do to make this better for the customers? Because essentially, although there's a lot more to consumer duty, it all boils down to doing the right thing. And that should be at the heart of every business regardless. So to just respond by going, oh, well, it's the FCA's fault. Oh, well, it's regulation. I think it's just a bit of a cop-out, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, as soon as they found out who I wrote for, they transferred my money straight away.
I bet they
did.
I'll get you to phone. I'll get you to phone some people on my behalf, Lois. That'd be great.
I did used to do it with the energy companies at my old job. Just be like, do you know who I write for? And then they'd just do the thing that I wanted. Anyway, journalist power. Probably shouldn't even say that. So obviously a lot of the focus of the consumer duty is on the importance of value, not just price, and also getting sort of tangible results. What do you think is the impact of poor or good service propositions, and how can we measure this, and how can we improve this? 3-pronged question there for you, Sarah.
So some people listening may have heard me say this before, so I'm sorry if I sound a bit like a broken record, but service is a massive unseen cost in our sector. And it's a real false economy. And if you're not careful, you're going to have to stop me talking in a minute, Lois, because this is my soapbox topic. And
I think I'll just let you go.
And I may just start ranting, but I'll try not to. So I think you can draw a direct line between the service that's provided and the advice gap, frankly. I think there's about 12 to 14 million adults in the advice gap in the UK, and that's caused by a number of reasons. But 2 of the main reasons is that advice is massively underserved. We haven't got enough advisors for the market that needs them, and actually it's seen as a little bit expensive, frankly. Let's be honest about that. And then if you wind that back to the impact of service, and the time that advisors will spend on the phone to providers, just waiting for them to pick up the phone, chasing, fixing errors, trying to just get basic information. We've been doing some work with actually Kathy at the Verve group to understand advisor review processes and how much time that takes. And it's astonishing the base cost of just providing that information to customers, because some providers don't provide it digitally. There's 10, sometimes 28-day turnaround times on bits of information and data. And all of that costs the advisor money. And of course, the only person that really pays for any of us, and I do think people forget that, any of us, me, Hayley, the advisors, the power planners, all providers, is the client. So they all pay for this stuff. And therefore, if you could reduce that time and provide better service, and customers not have their heart sink every time they need to pick up the phone to you because they kind of know they're going to get what they need. If you could fix that and wave a magic wand, how much time in advisor businesses would you free up? How much money would you save, both in terms of advice time, but also provider time? You know, it's a false. We're a big believer in investing in service here at Parmenion, but it's a false economy to cut costs in that area, because you then have chaser calls in your system, you then have errors, you then have complaints, all of which need responding and servicing. So you end up in this downward spiral of problems all the time, your service being impacted, and it's costing money. And again, that cost gets passed on to the client. So I do think there's a significant impact on poor service to the customer, obviously. And I think part of the challenge, really, if we then bring it right back to the advice market and the advice profession, is advisors will understandably find it very, very difficult to understand what a service experience is really like until they've actually experienced it. Because the reality is, if you look at any of our marketing brochureware, we'll all say we deliver brilliant service.
The customer's at the heart of what we do.
Yes. And how can you, and I say this as a marketeer, right? But how can you cut through that messaging and that information when everybody's saying the same and it's patently not the case? So really it's about how you measure it, which is the other part of your question. And if you measure how much time it takes to pick up a call, we pick up every phone call in 20 seconds. There's a competitor of ours that a couple of competitors that will say that, we say it. But then that's all they publish. They publish how many of those calls are answered in one call. So that's the real quality measure. How much is one and done? How many times does the advisor have to phone back? Do those providers measure accuracy, for example, as well as efficiency? So how many processes you get through versus how many you get right first time? And at Parmenion we do, and at Parmenion we publish those. But to be honest, if we're the only one that's publishing it and no one else is, it's a bit of a pointless exercise, because advisors don't know whether that's good, bad or indifferent. And everybody's view of what an efficiency measure is will also be different. So you can't really compare them anyway. So frankly, just to sum up, I'm a little bit fed up of talking about this, because we've been talking about it for years and years and years, and no one's really doing anything about it. So I've decided we are going to do something about it, and we're actually doing some work with the Landcat to try and cut through some of this noise to help advisors. And we'll be launching that in actually the next few weeks. So watch this space.
Exciting. Thank you very much. Nice little exclusive for everyone there, I think, unless you hear something else. Brilliant. Thank you, Sarah. So I did want to talk a bit, because Hayley, sorry, I'm aware that you haven't really come in very much on this. But Sarah, I know that Parmenion is supporting the advisor incubator that the Verve Foundation has launched. First of all, I just wanted to ask you a bit about why you wanted to get involved with the initiative, and then I wanted to get a bit from Hayley on sort of a bit more detail about what that's hoping to achieve.
Hayley will be much more eloquent about this than me, so I will only say a few words. But I've already talked about the advice gap. There aren't enough advisors in the UK to serve the needs of customers, and we need to encourage more people into the profession. I believe it's a really, really rewarding profession, and it's absolutely heading in the right direction in terms of the service it's delivering to its customers and the outcomes it is trying to deliver. And so I'm passionate about good advice. I'm passionate about supporting the advice sector, which is hugely resilient and will grow. But I think there are massive barriers to entry, and it's actually quite hard to set up that business, because it's not just about who your customers will be and what your product is. There's regulation, there's capital, and there's all of that other stuff, and qualifications and authorization and all of that other stuff that you need to work in financial services. And I just think it's hard, and any help we can give is a good thing. And I'll shut up now.
No, we weren't saying that at all. But Hayley, I would like to hear a bit more detail from you on sort of what the thinking behind the launch was, and when you launched and how it's gone since then. Because I don't think it was that long ago, was it?
No, so we had a little shindig to launch back in June, and we've about a week or two ago, we had the last session of the first cohort, with the next one coming at the end of September. So been a bit of a whirlwind, but it's been really, really good so far. So I guess just touching on what you said, Sarah, and probably the reason why we are so proud to have Parmenion as our lead partner is because those values and that passion aligns perfectly with what we're trying to do in the foundation as a whole. So the incubator is one initiative that we have, but the overall mission is to get more people, so advisors and support staff, into the industry and to just make it way more diverse and innovative and all of those lovely things that we all want for the industry, but it's just been so far so slow to change. Anyone who knows Kathy knows that she doesn't like to wait for anything. So it was very much like, right, we're doing this now. And the thinking behind the incubator itself was, yes, it's very, very hard to be an advisor. It's also really, really hard to set up a business, no matter what it is. So during the incubator, we run through things like business plan creation. We touch on the regulatory elements. We talk about marketing. We have a group of mentors who give their time to the advisors to talk not just about the advice stuff, but really what it's like to set up and run your own business. And I think that's the key part that we play, is to build that community, because it's so lonely being a business person on your own, doing absolutely everything yourself. And then there's a little bit of paranoia of, oh, have I got everything? Am I doing everything I need to do? Because that to-do list is just endless. And it's not just for the first 3 months, 6 months, year, it's ongoing. And it's stuff that we know that people really want to do well. And I think, again, that's the key thing, is people want to do the right thing for clients. So they've put in all of their energy into the advice, but then the other side of it is they have a business to run, and how the heck do they do that, you know? So that was the thinking behind the incubator itself. That launched, as I said, in June, and our first cohort were incredible. I mean, I would say that, but genuinely 10 really incredible advisors. And I mean, Sarah, we spoke about this recently. They just have great ideas, they've got the passion, and essentially it all boils down to them wanting to help people. And I think if people have that ethos inside them and they have that passion and drive to do this for the industry, we want to help them as much as we can, because from that we're getting great advisors, and from that clients are getting good outcomes. So it's win-win all round, really. We've had probably about 30 applications in total. I think, as you said at the beginning, Lois, not everyone's heard of it still. So it's really important that we're just spreading the word, because we want to continue to do this as long as we can. I said to Kathy recently and to Sarah on a call, I want to do this for the rest of my life, right? I'm 35, so we've got a good few years until I'm doing this for the rest of my life.
We're going to solve the advice gap.
Yeah, exactly. It's my life's mission now. We're going to solve that advice gap. But not only the advice gap, you know, financial education, getting more people into the industry and not experiencing barriers. I think you said that earlier, Sarah, it's not an easy and welcoming industry, but it should be, because there's so many people in this industry that want to welcome fresh, talented people. And we want to welcome people who have new ideas and a different perspective. I feel like I've done quite well in the industry because I didn't have the background. I had no preconceptions. I just came in as a receptionist, learned some stuff and thought, actually, I love this. And I want more and more people to do the same thing, but don't do it by accident. Don't do it like I did. Do it because you really want to, and you've got something to bring to the table.
Yeah, definitely. No, I talk to a lot of people in the industry, obviously, being a journalist in the industry. So most of the vast majority of people I speak to say, well, I fell into this industry, you know, it wasn't what I was going for in the first place. I personally, when I was at school, when I was at university, I didn't get much careers advice anyway, to be honest, but certainly I never heard of financial advice as a career that I could go down. As it happens, I didn't go down that career path, but you know, it was always accountants, doctors, lawyers, journalists, never financial advisors. So I think it's very important to start there, I imagine. So yeah, it sounds, and then obviously well, I was writing an article recently. I assume it'll be published when this podcast comes out, but anyway, I've been working on it. And in that, I say I really admire anyone who launches their own business, because I've never had any sort of entrepreneurial spirit or anything like that. So yeah, I don't know how anyone can do it, especially in such a heavily regulated space. So it sounds like a really worthwhile program, and I'm very excited to see where it goes. And so what are the next steps for the incubator then, Hayley? You've had your first cohort. What happens next?
Yeah, so we always say to them, you know, we're here for you. You've gone through the programme, we've given you all of this information, but we're still here to support you. So we'll continue to do some sessions that they'll be invited to. They're still in contact with partners. So Parmenion, you guys have spoken to them about several different bits. One of the huge things that we got in feedback was community and having that support. So we don't want to just take that away after the 12 weeks. We're here to continually support them for whatever we need, and they need rather. And they've done that. So we've kept in touch. I'm not allowed to say who, but someone's had some FCA authorization through, and we're just so proud of them. I know.
Sorry, yes, I was tapping there and no one can see me on the camera.
Just lovely to keep hearing their news. The end of this week, we have the closing date for applications for the second cohort.
Sorry, just to say, when this comes out, it might be like next week or the week after. So.
So applications are now closed for the second cohort. So that'll be launching at the end of September. And again, we're going to go through the same kind of programme. That said, we do look at the applications. So if we have people in at different stages, we're very flexible. So we'll tailor that programme to whatever they need. If it's people pre-authorisation, there'll be different sessions to people who are already authorised and they're ready to go, because there's so much different work that you need to do depending on what stage. And then hopefully next year we can look at doing four cohorts a year of both the advisor incubator and our other programme, We Are Change, which is designed to bring brand new people into the industry, and we train them up to get their diploma and then help to place them into roles within financial services. So the big plan is for a year of those whilst there's just me, and then into the future get more and more people in and just keep going until, as Sarah says, we have single-handedly closed that advice gap.
Brilliant. Sounds amazing. So will sort of previous cohorts start mentoring new cohorts and things? The idea is that everyone's sort of talking and helping each other. Sounds ideal. Makes me want to launch my own advice firm.
Come on in, Lois. But yeah, we'll keep building on that. So we'll have this alumni group and we'll add cohort 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in, and they can all help to support each other. They've built their network through the mentors that they've been speaking to as well, and as we say, it will be mentoring, but also just that overall community support. We just want to keep that going and make it bigger and bigger, so that everyone gets what they need out of their businesses and the profession gets everything they need out of the businesses.
Brilliant.
I think that's right. And I think, I don't know whether it's sort of worth mentioning, but some of the feedback we got, for example, so Parmenion ran a session with the first cohort on cybersecurity. And that was, the feedback we got on that was really positive, because actually as a 200-man business, we've got experts in that space, and we can lend those experts to the foundation to share their knowledge and give hints and tips about and actually just actionable steps that they can take in their own business around important areas like that. And I think access to experts is one of the things that the programme does really well.
Yeah, cybersecurity particularly is a really complicated area, isn't it? I was trying to look into it a bit recently, and it sounds like there's loads to it, especially for an advice firm who might not have the know-how. So yeah, no, that sounds great. Just one, we're probably coming towards the end now, but just one final question for you both. Just more generally, is there more that the industry can do to support new entrants into financial services? Obviously, we've talked a bit about the incubator and what you're hoping to achieve with that. But obviously, there's not, as you already mentioned, Hayley, there's not a huge amount of diversity in the sector. What more can sort of the industry in general do to help improve diversity and encourage more new entrants into both financial advice and, I suppose, fund management as well?
Shall I go, Sarah? I didn't want to jump in.
No, you go, and then I
can. The answer from me is just a huge yes, and you could probably just cut it there. No, not really. I think I'm a big believer in little things making a big impact. So I feel like if every single person did something, whatever that something is, we're collectively going to have a huge impact. There's so much more we can do, but I think the biggest thing is changing your attitude and your perception as a business. So when speaking about diversity, don't just instantly go, oh, well, we don't want this type of person, or also on the flip side of that, we want this type of person. It's down to the person themselves and what they can bring. So when you're speaking to them and interviewing them, listen to what they are saying, what drives them, and make sure you're asking the right questions. Doesn't matter what gender they are or what background they come from. If they've moved jobs 6 times, there could be a reason behind it. So just try to break away from the preconceptions of people and listen to those people themselves. I think that's the biggest thing for me for diversity, is to just stop all the noise and focus on what you want to achieve and the people that you're bringing into your business. Look after those people, give them the opportunity to thrive, give them the encouragement they need, and you will be rewarded 10 times over. And that will bring such a change in the industry. That will also, I believe, start to change that perception outwardly as well, because you get the right people in, you get people that look like the younger generation, you know, they're not all old men in suits that are at the bank. It has changed, so show that, you know, really showcase the different roles, the different people that we have in the industry, and I think it will naturally have that change. And I do think it's really needed, absolutely.
Definitely.
I wholeheartedly agree with everything you've said there, Hayley. But I do think it probably needs to go back a little bit. I think part of the reason why financial services isn't considered necessarily as a profession through school and university is because of that reputation. You don't hear people saying, I want to go and work in utilities either, do you? So it's partly to do with, can I make a difference? Can I drive change? Can I have an impact? And I think we need to be open-minded to new ideas and new thinking. But I also think, and one of the things we have talked about and done here at Parmenion is gone into local schools, sixth forms, careers fairs, careers advice, but not just schools where the pupils are people like us, schools where perhaps financial services would just not even be on the radar. And so we've gone into schools with high diversity to talk about financial services as an option, and driving that thought process from a really young age is also, I think, quite important to encourage talent. You want people to choose to come into the profession, and you want people to be really passionate about the difference it can make, because we all know that money is highly personal and it makes a huge difference to people if it's managed well. And I just don't think we're very good at communicating that outside of our own little echo chambers, frankly.
No, definitely, totally agree. Brilliant. I think we probably better end there, but thank you both so much for joining me. I've really enjoyed chatting to you today. I think it's been really interesting.
It's been great fun.
See you.
And yes, see you both again soon.
See you soon.
Thank you for listening to In Conversation With. We do hope that you enjoyed it. Please do keep up to date with all our new releases via Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere else you get your podcasts from. You can also keep up to date with all our new content published on the Money Marketing website, as well as our print edition Money Marketing magazine. So make sure to subscribe. Follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. See you next time.